In the name of God, most merciful and compassionate. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, I should thank the organizer for having invited me to come here today and deliver a lecture under the title, The Event of Ghadir, the Day of the Perfection of Islam. You might have all heard of Ghadir, or more correctly, Ghadir Khum. And you might have heard the hadith of Ghadir, which is one of the most reliable traditions as narrated from a large number of Sunni and Shi'i narrators. And this hadith, which is known as the hadith of Ghadir or the tradition of Ghadir, in fact, is also a reflection of the occurrence of a historic event, which in fact is directly related to the Islamic community and which can even play a major role in their own lives, even in the future and even now. So this hadith, as narrated from the Prophet, after he delivered a long sermon or khutbah, which itself is one of the most important evidences and documents which should not be ignored or which should not be passed over in silence at all. The hadith of Ghadir is one of the most important traditions between all the Muslims, among all the Muslims. And there is no hadith to be so reliable as this one, because the narrators, the number of the transmitters or narrators of this hadith exceeded even the degree of reliability. From the perspective of the experts in the biography of the transmitters or ilm al-rijal, and even from the perspective of the transmitters of hadith or rawat, even diraya, or from the perspective of the experts in the investigation of the correctness or reliability of a hadith. The word Ghadir is originally Ghadir Khum. And Ghadir is in fact an area before or close to another area called a Juhfa. And Juhfa is a place where many paths cross. And in this place, there is a fountain in which water gathers. And also there grew a number of trees in that area. And more than 300 of the Sunni scholars transmitted or narrated this hadith. Even in a very famous book, which was also translated into English, The Nights of Peshawar, as written by Sultan al-Wa'izin, originally in Persian, and then it was translated into Arabic, Liyali Peshawar, and also into English, in which he mentions the names of 60 of the ulama who narrated this hadith, and even their names were also mentioned in that book. But what's more important, what is worth mentioning is Al-Allama Al-Amini in his famous encyclopedia, in his 11-volume encyclopedia called Al-Ghadir, investigated Hadith Qadir. Hadith Qadir, in the light of the Quran, Sunnah or tradition, Arab literature, and so on. And in his encyclopedia work, Al-Amini mentions all the documents relating to this hadith. What I'm doing now is I'm trying to give the audience a background or a backdrop to this hadith in order to prepare the audience for further details regarding the event of Qadir. So, Amini expertly ascertains and proves the reliability or correctness of this hadith. And even the Sahaba or the companions who narrated this hadith, Sunni and Shia alike. So there will be no room for doubting the reliability or correctness of this hadith, that is the hadith of Qadir. Based on what was mentioned by Al-Amini in his encyclopedia known as Al-Ghadir, he says that when the Prophet, the Holy Prophet, performed his farewell pilgrimage or Hajjatul Wada in the year of 10, in the 10th year, AH, while he was on his return to Medina, and when he arrived at a place called Ghadir Khum, Gabriel, the angel of revelation, descended with a revelation, with an ayah. After 5 hours, which passed of the dawn, 5 hours after the dawn. And he said, Ya Muhammad, O Muhammad, and Allah yaqri'uka salam. God has conveyed his salam or salutation to you. ثم تلا عليه الآية. Then he recited the ayah. يا أيها الرسول بلغ ما أنزل إليك من ربك وإن لم تفعل فما بلغت الرسالة والله يعصمك من الناس إن الله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. يا أيها الرسول, O messenger, proclaim what was sent down to you from your Lord, and if you do not do, you will not have done whatever was sent down or whatever was communicated to you. And if you do not perform or do what was communicated to you, فَمَا بَلَّغْتَ رِسَالَةً, you will not have performed your mission. وَاللَّهُ يَعْصِمُكَ, and Allah will protect you from people. Allah will not guide those who defy Him. And when this ayah was sent down in this regard, and so explicitly and clearly, the Prophet ordered and commanded all the caravans to stop and gather together, because a very important message was sent down to the Prophet by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And according to some traditions, the number of the pilgrims amounted to 100,000, more or less.